Welcome to episode 2 of the Arcane Dialogue. Today, in this episode, we're going to be going over the pyramid's hidden truths, new discoveries, lost tech, and forbidden knowledge. I'm Josh.
I'm John.
And this is the Arcane Dialogue.
And I just got to say before we get started, dude, I am extremely nervous about talking about this, and I'm excited because, as you know, there are so many different conspiracy theories out there. And I feel like it's a spider web and they all connect to the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah, I feel like everything does.
Yeah.
Something like this, I think that if we figure out what's going on at the Pyramid of Giza, my understanding of the world will change. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, unlimited energy, please charge my phone right now, But let's give it a quick introduction of what today's topic is going to be about. What if we were to tell you that the pyramids aren't just ancient tombs, but part of something much, much bigger and much deeper. Literally. Recent claims of deep underground structures beneath the pyramids of Giza. Scientists using advanced radar imaging may have detected hidden chambers below the pyramids. And some experts call it fake news. I don't, but while others say it could change history. So, newest info and discoveries. That's the main thing. We want to set it straight. Muon scans found a 90 feet long hidden void below the pyramids, correct?
Yeah. So recently, it's been going viral. In March of 2025, there was a new study came out where there was a Scottish and were they German?
Scottish. It
was a Scottish and German team that came out with a study, and they were doing these scans under the pyramid. The Great Pyramids of Giza, and they discovered that there's basically a structure that goes down about 600 meters below the pyramid.
Pretty much, science in 2018 found the pyramids may concentrate radio waves in its chambers. New to deep scans allegedly reveal subterranean networks.
Yeah, so we'll put up some pictures. The structures that go down 600 meters below. They're trying to figure out. It looks like there's spirals around it from the scans. They go down and they're like pillars, and they lead to chambers down below at the very bottom of the pillars. So the weird thing about this is that people have been joking. I think Eddie Murphy had a joke 20 years ago about that the pyramids were just the top. You know what I mean? That there was just a top of whatever this was. And so the discovery came out, and it's everywhere, right? I'm sure everyone's seen these 3D scans of what it looks like. I know it's all over my social media, and they go down. And just for reference, if you don't know how long 600 meters is, that is taller than the Burj Khalifa. That is extremely deep.
Is 100 meters on a football field?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
so I think it's I don't know, roughly off the top of my head, 0.6. I know it's under a mile, but maybe 0.6 something miles.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's extremely deep. It's extremely deep.
I think that changes. If you think the pyramids were built by the Egyptians, you might be wrong. So,
yeah.
But so going off of what allegedly has been found, it's supposed to pretty much have unlimited energy, right? So around the world. Wow.
Well, the thing is, they don't know exactly what these are. And these two guys came out with this discovery, and they were using. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Italy, I guess they were Italy and Scottish. There was a German involved, but basically they were using synthetic aperture radar, which is also called SAR, and they were using this technology. And I don't know if you've ever seen these. They were using a number of different things. They were also using ground penetrating radar, which this has been used a lot recently, and it's been really useful. I know in the Amazon, they used it to they mapped out these cities. We thought nothing was in the Amazon, and they used this ground penetrating radar to map out these massive cities.
And that comes from planes, right? Or a satellite that was able to, okay.
Yeah, so basically planes, helicopters, they go over and they shoot this radar down, and it can see through things. This one is a little bit different. I know they did use ground penetrating radar, but the synthetic aperture radar is different. But they used a few different ones, and one I think they used from space. They
That's
shot it down
cool.
from space. Yeah.
I mean, if you can't excavate it, find a way to still discover it.
Yeah.
So pretty much, if we're gonna go off to now, what we know, right?
Yeah.
So you probably know more than I do. So go off what we know and and all.
So with the pillars that go down, there's major controversy around that, right? So we definitely they've done the scans, and you can see the scans of whatever they took, and it doesn't look like the 3D videos that you've seen on Instagram or Facebook or Reddit or whatever, right? The conspiracy subreddit.
Yeah.
It doesn't look exactly like that. They used these scans, and then they used the data that they had, and they input it into a software that gave us a rough estimation of what it looked like. And people speculate they could be like a new legendary hall of records or like a mythical vault, another chamber of something. But, the discovery, it's really weird, right? And when I first heard about it, I'm sure it was the same for you.
Yeah.
It was like, finally, you know what I mean? It was like, I've been trying to tell people about the pyramids forever. It was like all conspiracy theorists got to win. You know what I mean? But there is a little bit of like, you should be a little bit skeptical, because this team that did it, right? They've been known apparently in the past to have like not falsified data, but it's like they came out with data and it wasn't necessarily true. For instance, the data that they got from these scans, the way they put it into the software system to generate these images and these 3D videos that people have been sending around, I don't know enough about it, but from what I read, it seems like it could be like a little bit of, woo-woo. Like they could have just added in a little bit.
Well, on the radar, though, it doesn't show like multiple different structures, though.
Yeah. So it shows different structures. And like I said, none of this has been peer reviewed yet. This is new. This story is going to continue changing, which that's how science works.
Yeah.
But this is what we know now, is that there were structures underneath there. But the speculation comes from that the pyramids sit on aquifers, right? And these aquifers, like they basically, it goes through different levels of like bedrock and granite and stone all the way down. And the way these scans could be interpreted is that the scan was sensing like, I guess, some sort of structure beneath them. And it's almost like if you had a glass panel and you shined a laser in through the side of it, it would refract the light. So it's possible that that's what happened. But these studies haven't been peer reviewed yet. And that's the problem. Whenever you can look it up on YouTube. There's their press conference was at like some summit that they made, and it was not very professional at all. It was, it didn't come off as something like, as soon as I saw the thumbnail, it looked like one of our thumbnails for our videos. I was like, who are these guys that this is how they're going to announce it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting information, and I'm super excited, and I'm hoping that it leads to something that we can talk more about in the future. But as of right now, I wouldn't freak out about it, and I wouldn't go around, calling your mom and your dad and telling them like, hey, y'all were wrong.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's interesting information. But yeah.
So pretty much going off of the conspiracy of what's below the pyramids, here's what we do know. We know what we assumptionally do know is it was built around 2600 BC for Pharaoh Khufu, originally 146.6 meters tall, covered in white limestone, used 2.3 million blocks, some weigh 80 tons. How?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah. And that's the best thing about that. This news coming out is that people are interested in the pyramids again.
Well, it proves the fact that how can we build that?
Yeah.
And especially if pillars are down below the Pyramid of Giza.
Right.
Come on, man. You're telling me you built that in what was it? How many years they say it's built? Or
they don't know. They don't even know.
Yeah, they don't even know.
How do you not know?
And the wild part is there were no mummies discovered in the pyramids.
Yeah, people don't understand that. There were no mummies. There's never been a mummy found, not only in the Pyramid of Giza, in no pyramid ever in Egypt.
It's like hey, my grandma passed away last week, right? It did not, but it's saying like my grandma passed away last weekend, and next week there's a stone thing for her, right? Says rest in peace, my grandmother. And then you go and you bury in, there's nothing there. It's like,
Yeah.
Did she die? Like,
yeah, and that's what's so silly about this. Since we were kids, you see it everywhere. I mean, Hollywood makes movies.
I was taught that. I always thought the pyramid,
Everyone's taught that.
I swear I was taught in grade school that they were for mummies.
Yes, everyone thinks that, and that's what we're taught, is that the pyramids have mummies. In all of our media that we consume, all of our history books, everything says that they were tombs for pharaohs. But it makes no sense. I don't go out into a field that's just a plain field with no bodies in the field, and I call it a cemetery. It's the silliest thing ever. Why would you do that?
Yeah. I mean, they probably, then you have to ask yourself, what were the pyramids used, of course, but going off what we do know, right? The pyramids were mathematically built to perfection.
Right.
Like insane. And aligned perfectly to the true north. Location matches the speed of light. Dude. And it doesn't it align to the stars, the three
Orion's the constellation of Orion. Yeah. So I mean, going from every block being 2 to 40 tons, right? And they're placed so tightly that you can't even fit a razor blade between them. That's 99.98% accuracy. And the thing is that the pyramid of Giza actually doesn't even have 4 sides. It has 8 sides. And
you can see it from the top, right?
Yeah, you can see it from the top, only like from a bird's eye view, or if a shadow is casted. But yeah, I mean, it has 8 sides and it's concave. So, and you know what's weird about this? You can see the shadows perfectly during equinoxes. So equinoxes, the Egyptians were obsessed with equinoxes, and whenever there's an equinox, you can see the shadows perfectly. Like the dimensions of even those are perfect. And you talked about being like within 3/60th of a degree of true north, and the pyramids being exactly level. We wouldn't even be able to do that today without lasers. So to be able to move, 40-ton, 80-ton blocks to do that back then. I mean, think about that. Being the foreman on a project like that.
Yeah. Well, it's essentially a man-made mountain.
Yeah.
Right?
It's huge.
Composed of over 2.5 million stone blocks, weighing an estimated 6 million tons in total. It stands nearly 500 feet tall and covers more than 13 acres. Whoa, dude.
A 13-acre footprint.
Yeah, and get this. This base is level to I think I don't know if you said it, within less than an inch.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. And you look at other structures that were made back then, and it just does not make any sense. And when this starts getting really weird is whenever you start taking the dimensions of the Earth, right, into account. You start playing around with numbers here. Skeptics are going to say, I can take any number and multiply it and do whatever I want with it and make it come up with something. No. Listen to this. If you multiply the pyramid's height by 43,200, you get 3,938.685 miles. Just numbers, right? No, listen to this. That's just 11 miles off from Earth's polar radius. So that's the polar radius, right? Now, if we look at it and we're going to try to figure out the equatorial radius, right? If you multiply the base of that same number, 43,200, you multiply it on the base, you get 24,734.94 miles, which is nearly matching Earth's equatorial circumference, so around the equator. So you have the polar and the equator.
Well, and Earth gets smaller through time, right?
Yeah.
So it could have been accurate during that time frame.
It could have been accurate. And I mean, earthquakes are happening, like there's some places now like where the stones don't fit together as well, but earthquakes happen, like natural disasters happen.
Yeah.
Things happen, but that's over 99% accuracy in both cases. 99% accuracy. And being within 3/60th of a degree of true north, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why would that even be the case? Why that's not a coincidence. And when you start thinking of like, okay, this is just people made up that number, right?
Yeah.
And it's a square, and they probably figured out, the height and the base, whatever, it's a coincidence. But this is where it gets weird. Earlier, we just said that the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with equinoxes, right?
Yeah.
So they were obsessed with equinoxes, and an equinox is whenever the day and the night is the exact same time. So it's perfectly balanced. They were obsessed with these. They were obsessed with like different solstices. They were obsessed with astronomy. So that the number of the time in the day is the exact same time that is an equinox. How many seconds are in a day and a night on an equinox? In an equinox?
43,200.
Yes. Oh! Yes. 42,200.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I feel like seconds back then, like nobody can mess up seconds. You know what I mean? We could have different variations of time, like whatever. But like, I feel like a second is pretty easy to get a hold of.
Well,
like, you during have a guy counting and the 1, 2, 3.
Well, even during that time period, I feel like mathematics wasn't important. But if the Egyptians built it, mathematics wasn't that important. It was just more of like, let's build a structure.
Yeah.
You know, why would I go through so much precision to build a pyramid?
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to build a pyramid right now and I have zero to no knowledge, I'm just stacking blocks.
Yes.
To build a pyramid, but I'm not going to be accurate with it. Why would I do that? I'm just trying to build a pyramid.
And that's what the thing that always pisses me off is that you have people that are like, they're just blocks and they made a pyramid. That's the easiest structure you can make. If I gave my kids blocks right now, they'd probably come up with a pyramid. It makes the most sense. You have a wide base and it gets narrower at the top. But if you start looking at these numbers, it's like, why would they even do that? Well, waste that much manpower?
What even makes it more crazy is the pyramids are really cool, and we can go off and everything about how the pyramid's built, and we're going to. But the inside pyramid, that's what drives me nuts.
Yeah.
How can you build that inside?
Yeah. The intricacies of the tunnels and the shafts and the chambers and stuff.
Like.
Yeah. No.
No, like I'm gonna carve for what years and years and years to build it. No. Sorry.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense because I was just talking to my dad, and he was talking about. He watched a video on YouTube about there was a guy in like the 80s or 90s that came. He was this old dude on his farm, and he found a way to move blocks like the ancients did. And he was able to move as one human, able to move blocks, a multiplication of however much his weight was, like a large amount. But the thing is, he was using like these big logs on stones and using like levers and stuff. Okay, he did it. Maybe if you had 20,000 people doing this, you could. But the thing that doesn't make any sense to me is if you drop a stone in the middle and you have, stones around it, you can't go in there and get the lever under it again and move things around. There's no way to do that. Once you set a stone down in that tight of a thing, in that tight of a place, you can't pick them up and move them anymore. Like his idea of like, oh, we can move stones, fine. How do you get them up and place them down perfectly? You can't.
How do you get down? Because pyramid Gizas, they don't have steps, right?
No.
You know how like pyramids in like Mexico and all, they have like steps you can go up. Yeah. They don't have that at Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah, I mean maybe they had a ladder. I don't know, but there's just there's no way. And the thing we talked about earlier is like, why would they even decide on this? And people say it was, I guess, for their gods or their pharaohs, right? Because they revered their pharaohs as gods. But like we said earlier, there's never been a mummy found, and there's no artwork, there's no hieroglyphics, and there's no burial artifacts. There is one sarcophagus inside of the pyramids that people believed that Khufu was buried there, but he was never found. So why are we just coming up? Like science is always, mainstream academia is always like, hey, we got to have facts. We got to have facts. Like that idea is insane. But here we are just pulling stuff out of our ass, and we're just like, why are we doing that?
I think I saw something that tomb where he would have laid doesn't align to any other tomb we've seen. Like it's different.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With there being no hieroglyphs or artwork or anything, there is plenty of burial grounds in Egypt. I mean, just outside in the same local area as the pyramids of Giza, there's burial grounds for noble, high-ranking officials and stuff, and they are covered in artwork. They are covered in artifacts, and they are covered in hieroglyphics. The Egyptians, I don't know about the ancient Egyptians, but the ancient Egyptians that made those, they loved artwork. They loved telling a story, and they didn't leave anything out.
You know what's even crazier? If the Egyptians built it, they walked miles and miles and miles to find the right rock.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Let's get into that. Okay. So let's get into. We talked about the dimensions and stuff, which is already weird, right? We're getting into some weird territory here. Let's get into the things that they're made with. So the major blocks that you see, the reddish brown blocks that make up the pyramid that you or I would see if we went to Egypt, is called nummulite limestone. And those stones are found locally. you can walk around there, and they were able to make quarries and get those stones pretty easily, and they wouldn't have had to travel with those pretty far. So that makes sense, right? But the builders also used a very special material, and this one wasn't found nearby. This one was found over in Torah, which is over 500 miles away, or just around 500 miles. They were white limestone. So these were white limestone from Torah. So they had limestone already here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why would they use a different type of white limestone from 500 miles away?
And they were perfectly. Weren't they like perfectly that they were smooth, right?
So those were the casing stones.
Okay.
And the casing stones. Yeah. Those were the casing stones, the white ones.
What the?
So they used the white casing stones they pulled from 500 miles away.
And that's insane. Did someone like go walk 500 miles to find these rocks?
Well, some things came out, I think, later, and I don't even know how long ago. Maybe in 2017, there were some discoveries about another chamber and stuff, and I think they found out with some sort of ground penetrating radar that, we said that the pyramids were sitting on aquifers, right?
Yeah.
So underneath, there's basically water running through the earth underneath the pyramids, and they did find some sort of river system that goes that way towards Torah.
So do you think they would have put them on boats?
I don't know if they put them in boats. I'm pretty
That's
sure
heavy,
that
though.
it would be heavy. There's other ways that people said maybe they floated them over there, but that's what I'm saying. The story is always changing, But at the same time, the river didn't go all the way.
Yeah.
And if you have that many stones,
You need a lot of slaves.
you need a lot of slaves.
A lot.
And it's still, even at that point, sand. It's all sand over there. They didn't have highways and tractor trailers and stuff. Like, you're dragging these huge blocks and carving them perfectly and dragging them through the sand for 500 miles over mountains and stuff. This terrain is not like flat.
Well, so unlike the local limestone, right? Torah limestone lacks magnesium, making it an excellent insulator.
Yep.
While regular limestone can carry an electrical charge, Torah limestone cannot.
Yeah. And that's pretty interesting because, like, I'm not an electrician or anything, but you need insulator. You need an insulator. And that's what I think these things were used for. So the white Torah limestones were basically an insulator because they didn't carry an electrical current. Yeah.
How would they even know that?
Yeah. They didn't have electricity.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So inside the pyramid, you have many chambers going around, and you've got the different tunnels and stuff, right? And that's including the king's and the queen's chamber. And you have these, and these were constructed with a type of granite called rose granite, right? And the rose granite is rare. It's even more rare than the Torah limestone. And this was brought from Aswan. And this is also hundreds of miles south. So I think Torah is east and Aswan is south. But they're both hundreds of miles away. And they carried the rose limestone, or the rose granite, all the way to the pyramid site as well as they were building it. And the cool thing about rose is that it has high levels of silicon dioxide, which is quartz. Mm-hmm. And, when quartz is compressed or vibrated, it produces an electrical charge. You can see that on watches, clocks, GPSs, barbecue lighters. Whenever you spark a barbecue grill lighter, that's quartz. Whenever you shake a watch and it charges your watch, that's using what they call piezoelectricity.
Why don't we just have that for our phones right now?
I don't know if it can create that much electricity.
I mean, if I'm at 1%, I need 2%. Let me shake it a little.
Yeah.
That's insane, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean,
even crazier, like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds? You're like, this.
That's what you got to keep saying. So, like, okay, people are like, it's a coincidence. They just thought it looked pretty. The white limestone does look pretty. If you see, like, these people that have drawn what it would have looked like, all the white limestone was taken away and destroyed, or like looters got it. But the white limestone covering the outside, the casing of the pyramids, it was beautiful. But it also had a purpose, right? And the rose granite inside of it, it had a purpose. It's like, you can't have this many coincidences and still just say, oh, it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
To me, whenever things start lining up and multiple things are lining up, I'm like, okay, there's a reason for that. It's not just a coincidence. So you have the rose granite, basically, it becomes it starts energy, right? It starts electricity, and then you have the normal limestone that's inside of it that can carry electrical currents, and then you have the outside, which is the white Torah limestone that is insulating electricity. You can look that up. If you got wires in the house, wires are insulated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got wires insulated right here. That's what you insulate them.
What the flip?
Yeah. So it's just weird, right? It doesn't make sense.
Well, so the queen and king's chambers are lined with granite made of roughly 85% quartz, as are many of the internal shafts. If pressure was applied to their structure, it could generate significant electrical energy.
Yes.
This supports the idea that the Great Pyramid may not have been a tomb at all.
No mummies. There was no mummies. It wasn't a tomb. Why are we calling it a tomb?
It's a power generator. Might as well call what do we call like nuclear stuff? Nuclear sites?
Yeah, it's like a power plant.
Power plant.
Yeah, it was a power plant.
That's insane.
There's no other reason why all these things line up. You know what I mean? It's like you don't need a battery. Your watch doesn't need a battery. You can just say, we're using this tech today.
Insane.
So, and it's 85% quartz. So the whole inside of it is 85% quartz.
You know, if we literally did this, it would. If we were to figure out the technology of the pyramid, if it was a power plant, what's it called when you're like a tier 1 planet? It's like you can use the whole.
Oh yeah, like the levels of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would take us so more closer to.
Yeah. It would
because
basically
we would use the Earth. We would use our own planet for our energy, for anything.
Well, I mean that's.
Then it's the sun, isn't it? The sun and the solar system.
Yeah.
And then,
and then it's like multi-universe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think about how many wars are fought and are still fought today.
Over oil.
Crude oil.
Coal.
What are we doing?
What the flip?
So it makes no sense why we wouldn't try to invest in this. But scientists are like, no, we're not even going to look into it.
This theory isn't new, right?
This theory is not new. And it was proposed in the 1970s. But all of mainstream academia dismissed it. And as more discoveries surfaced, the idea gained traction. And there's an engineer, Christopher Dunn. He believes the energy process began in the subterranean chamber. And below the pyramid are natural aquifers, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And so basically what you have is, and the most simplest way I can describe this is water's moving through the underground, right? But it doesn't only move through the underground. If you think about the tide, the way I kind of understand it is if you look at the tide, there's low tide and high tide, right?
Yeah.
And it has to do with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever the Earth's rotating, the gravity is pulling it up and then it's pulling it down.
Yep.
So that's constant. That is always happening. There's no battery. There's no outside source. So it's moving constantly.
It always moves.
And it's putting pressure and it's compressing these materials inside. The rose granite inside is always, and that's basically starting the charge. That's how I kind of thought about it. Yeah.
When I was reading on it, I thought just water just stayed there. But now that makes sense.
That's how I think about it. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay,
it keeps moving.
Yeah, because if you think about it, we already use this technology today. On oceans, there's like these giant platforms on these things that move. We use wind as well, but there's these things on the ocean that basically are like these big arms that put platforms down. And when waves happen, they move the arms up and down and it generates power. We're already using that today.
I didn't think about that.
So why do we think that ancient aliens is just racist? You know what I mean? Anytime they pop up, they're like, oh, these Egyptians did it. They're like, what color were they? Nah, they couldn't have been them. It was aliens. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like that.
Holy cow. That makes sense though.
Yeah. So the vibrations carried up through the structure, right? So it resonated with the Earth's natural frequencies, and the vibrations traveled up, and they were amplified, focused, and converted into usable energy. And this is totally just a conspiracy theory, but I think it's pretty cool. And the more I learn about it, the more I believe it.
So going off of Christopher Dunn, he theorized that the Queen's Chamber was the site of a chemical reaction that produced hydrogen. 2 shafts leading to the chamber have shown traces of hydrochloric acid in the north shaft and zinc chloride in the south. What are the odds?
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. So when combined, these create a powerful chemical reaction that releases hydrogen gas. I remember when I was younger, there was a guy that like figured out a way to run a car off of hydrogen gas. And that was like my first conspiracy theory, and he got killed.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It's kind of like Back to the Future. It's like when, what's his, Unc
Unk. Yeah, that was his name.
Yeah,
Unk.
Unk. He figured out how to use trash into the car.
Yeah.
Or he used the nuclear thing.
Yeah, they always die.
Yeah, someone tries to kill him, right?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So you have basically, we're starting to like paint a picture for you. This almost just seems like a closed circuit. It's about to just be a straight up closed circuit, insulated. We have the energy source and everything. So the hydrogen would flow through the horizontal passages into the Grand Gallery, which is also made of quartz-rich granite, right? What are the odds, right? It's a coincidence, though. It's a coincidence.
It makes me upset.
It's a coincidence.
It really does.
It doesn't even make sense. So as the gas built up, pressure would compress the granite, generating electricity. The same thing. You compress these, you vibrate these, it creates an electrical current, right? It creates a charge. And the charged atmosphere would enhance conductivity. So the gallery housed 27 to 28 pairs of resonators, we believe. They're not there now, but that's what we believe.
Wait, so what do you mean by gallery?
The Grand Gallery. So there's a chamber inside of the Pyramid of Giza, and it's called the Grand Gallery.
Okay.
And basically this would house the resonators, and there's a perfect space for it. You would need that in order to make this a closed circuit and to generate energy.
Yeah.
But there's a perfectly placed chamber in the middle that would be able to house that. Yeah. And so the devices that would be the resonators would be like vibrated, and they would have emitted sound. And earlier we talked about how they would have gotten power from the water, right? And the Earth's natural frequencies.
Yeah.
But these sound waves, I think they resonate. It was 440 hertz. So 440 hertz is the Earth's natural resonant tone.
That's insane.
Yeah, in an F sharp. In an F sharp. That's important because again, we're going to start getting into coincidences here, and this is very important. The Earth's natural resonant tone is 440 hertz in an F sharp, right? So the acoustic experts, they got together with Egyptologists, and they got in there, and it's pretty cool. They're using music and Egyptology, archaeology, and they're working together.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to figure out, hey, the Earth's natural frequency, blah, blah, blah. Let's get inside of these pyramids and let's start sending off some sounds, right? Let's see what sounds resonate inside of the pyramids. And so they went to the king's chamber, and they connected it. They went through a small shaft, and just right above the dimensions to allow hydrogen microwaves to pass through, inside the chamber are 5 granite relieving layers. These things, they went in there and they set off the sound, and the sound that resonated perfectly was 440 hertz F sharp. Just perfectly. And this is a weird one too. This is an important tone. If you've ever started up a MacBook, that is the same sound the MacBook sets off whenever you start up the MacBook.
What the flip?
Another
so the pyramid
conspiracy.
Pyramid's like a computer, a huge computer.
I don't think it's a computer, but I do think that Apple probably knows something and they're hiding something.
What the flip?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But inside of there, there's so we're going up. It's resonating in a 440 hertz F sharp, right? Mm-hmm. Inside of the chamber, there's a shaft that passes up, and inside of there, there's different layers inside of there with stone on each layer. And what you see is 3 smooth sides. So you have a smooth side and a smooth side and a smooth side, and then the top of it is like chipped away rock. So they were trying to figure out what this is called. I think it was called a what is it called? It's called a Helmholtz resonator. And that's basically like if you had a bottle here and you blew into it and it would emit a sound. And if you took out more liquid or you changed the volume in your bottle, it would change the pitch, right?
Yeah.
So it was the same thing. Inside of this chamber, they had different levels, these different layers, and they were chipped away at the top. And it seems like somebody was chipping away at the top of each one of these layers to make sure that it emits a perfect sound.
What the flip?
Yeah.
What if, like,
yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
That's
so they basically
crazy.
made a giant Helmholtz resonator.
Dang. And then, so going off of that, then in 2019, a researcher named Eric Wilson released a paper outlining how granite, when vibrated, can cause electrons to move to the surface, right?
Yeah.
And then producing energy combined with the Earth's natural vibrations caused largely by tidal forces from the moon. The pyramid could have functioned as a substantial energy source. We just went off of that. I didn't even, like, I'm telling you, I'm going back on that. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane. And they, like I said, they ran tests and the audio waves to see how the pyramid would respond, and it would respond 440 hertz.
What
F sharp.
That's
and
crazy.
the ideal, and so basically, what they were saying is, with this as well. So the ideal wavelengths were between 200 and 600 meters, and the wavelengths, the strongest resonance near 200 meters. So you get the most amount of power at 200.
Question though, I don't know if I know the answer. How would this energy in the pyramid go outside?
How would it leave the pyramid?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where it gets a little weird.
Gold?
Gold.
I didn't know that. I just guessed.
Dude, gold. Yeah.
So on top, right?
There was apparently a gold capstone on top of the pyramid, right? And I don't know if there's another conspiracy kind of about weather seeding, about changing the weather. And they use gold.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Gold is a very important material, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, we love it. Humans love gold, and there's no real use for it.
Yeah.
Other than like
Heat.
Yeah, like it looks good.
Yeah.
But the only thing that it is really good for is this like weather seeding. And I feel like there's something in there that could also be with like generating this.
We weather see today, right? Don't we?
Yeah.
What the flap?
Yeah.
Well, are those the planes that like have clouds in the back?
That's the thing, is like chemtrails, right? That we are dropping chemtrails to kind of control or manipulate the weather.
What the flap?
Yeah, it's a weird one, man. That one's a deep dive too. And I mean, to me, it seems like it's already a fact. Like it's not even a question, but some people still deny it. All because of Alex Jones said it. So Alex Jones said it, and now it's like, oh, it's all false.
So if energy was generated, how was it extracted? And enter my man, Nikola Tesla, dude.
This is where it gets so weird. All right. Give us a little brief synopsis of how are you going to connect the pyramids with Nikola Tesla?
So enter Nikola Tesla, right? His Wardenclyffe Tower was built atop an aquifer with copper and iron rods extending into the ground, aiming to send electricity wirelessly across the globe. Sounds familiar, right?
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about that too? You just read the copper and iron rods.
Yeah.
They found those in Egypt.
What the flap?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
They found those.
Oh my gosh.
And apparently he was obsessed with the pyramids. He was like a full-blown nut.
Yeah, we can't know now because the paperwork's gone.
Yeah.
I wonder how,
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
He was obsessed with them. So, I mean, here you go again. Was he a nut, or was there some truth to this?
I think he was not a nut. I think he was a little of a nut, but
Yeah.
So Tesla's wireless energy transmission experiments eerily resemble some of the theories about the Great Pyramid, like we just said. The shape of the pyramid and its alleged ability to harness natural energy sources have led to some believe it worked similarly to Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower.
Yeah, I do believe he had a gold top on his too, because of the conductive properties of it as well. I don't know if he exactly used granite or the limestone. Obviously, he probably used like modern day things that we could create, but it did have the same properties of the quartz.
And it did. So going off what the Wardenclyffe Tower is, for people who do not know, we call it a modern pyramid for wireless energy. Tesla built the Wardenclyffe Tower in 1901 on Long Island, a massive structure designed to transmit wireless electricity using the Earth's natural electrical properties. The tower was meant to send energy through the Earth's ionosphere, right? Ionosphere, allowing wireless transmission of power across long distances, similar to somehow believe the Great Pyramid functioned. The tower's shape and function bear similarities to the alleged energy transmitting properties of the pyramid.
Yeah, I mean, just right there in like the brief you just gave us, it's the same thing. Aquifers underneath the tower, aquifers underneath the pyramids. He used the quartz-like materials to start the electrical current. He had a closed circuit, how there was a positive and a negative charge on these different limestones within, and then he had an insulator and a gold top to shoot the energy out.
And going off a little conspiracy, who funded Nikola Tesla? J.P. Morgan. Who controlled coal, oil, all that? J.P. Morgan. If Nikola Tesla would have been able to have wireless energy across the world, J.P. Morgan would have lost money.
Yeah, so J.P. Morgan,
he pulled money.
He was his original funder, right? Him and J.P. Morgan and Tesla were buds in the beginning, and it's kind of a sad story. So J.P. Morgan at the time, he owned General Electrics and AT&T. Both of these companies that he owned would be obsolete if Tesla's tower were to come to life and were to be used by everyone. And I mean, transmitting messages and transmitting power. But I'm just going to go down real quick, and I want to name some of the things that he was in control of. So J.P. Morgan, right? He owned copper mines all over the world. Used slaves, probably. Child labor.
Probably did.
Nasty guy.
Dude.
He had copper mines all over the world, and he had factories for creating thousands of miles of copper wire. He had rubber farms for insulation of those copper wires. He had steel companies and factories all over that built power generators. He had timber mills that created telegraphs and electrical poles to carry all of that stuff, to use the copper wire. And then he had coal mines that fueled the existing plants. So, and not only that, he had two dozen railroads. He had 24 railroads that he used to transport all of this stuff he was just creating.
What a bastard, dude.
So basically, Tesla's creation would have just knocked him out of business. So he ended up pulling funding. He pulled funding from Tesla. And Tesla wrote him for years. Almost every month, he would send him letters begging for money.
Yeah. And he died in his hotel room off of a blood clot.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
I wonder if they found his body. I don't know the answer for that one.
Yeah, I don't either. But I do know that, okay, so years went by. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Tesla, he didn't get any funding, and basically JP Morgan was ignoring all of his stuff. And not only did he ignore him, and not only did he not fund Tesla anymore after pulling all the funding, he also funded his competitors. He funded his competitors, Edison and Marconi. And Edison and Marconi used Tesla's inventions and his different things that he came up with as well for them to get rich. So they're basically using his other inventions, getting rich.
Yeah.
JP Morgan started funding them and stopped funding him. And that's the sad thing about these guys, like these giant moguls, is it's like, if you don't know how to play the game, you're never going to get your product out there.
Yeah. And going off of Nikola Tesla, he was fascinated by the geometry of the pyramids. And what resembled with his tower resembled the pyramids very well. Believing their shape could harness and amplify energy, like he said. But you know what he once said? He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And the pyramids all did that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Tesla was up to something, man. And he was backstabbed because people were money hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in today's world how that happens. And people are money hungry and they don't want to fund things that makes them even less rich.
Yeah. Did you know that he also he brought JP Morgan out there? So this was JP Morgan and him, like I said, were buds, and he was funding him. And this is probably right when he pulled funding. He went out there to see Tesla, right? He thought, oh, this wacky guy, this genius. He had a lot of inventions. Tesla had his tower, and he had a field full of light bulbs. And Tesla turned on the machine, and these light bulbs turned on. What the? Yeah.
Wait, with the tower?
With the tower. He turned on the tower, and all the light bulbs turned on. They weren't plugged into nothing. I think that's when JP probably
pulled the plug. He probably pulled the plug.
He pulled funding.
He's like, gosh, I just made a deal with copper mining. I cannot have this happen.
No, he would have been broke. He would have been broke. And not only did he, okay, so he funded his adversaries. He funded his enemies. He took all his funding away from Tesla. And then he blacklisted Tesla. So nobody else could work with him. They're like, it's all like an elite club. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to be in the club. He blacklisted poor Tesla.
Well, he blacklisted, and then supposedly Tesla was working on a death ray, right?
I don't know the death ray.
Yeah, but so Tesla allegedly worked on a high energy directed beam weapon. You hear about this?
No.
Really?
No, I haven't heard about that.
I thought you did.
No, I didn't know about that.
That could transmit energy over vast distances. Some believe the pyramids could have function as energy transmission in several ways. I mean, not look at it as a weapon like I'm about to kill someone in space, right?
Right.
I mean, you could, though.
Well, think
if
about
you provide that much energy, you have laser beams so you can protect your own planet.
Well, think we have nuclear power plants, which provide nuclear energy. But we also have nukes that we drop sometimes when people don't listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be the same thing. This thing could probably generate a crazy amount of power, but it could also be a huge bomb.
It probably can.
That's what happened.
I hope not. We just let's turn on the pyramid. Let's turn on the pyramid today.
Oh my
gosh, here we go. Sun ray again. We go back in time. Got to restart Dryas theory. But
dude, you know what that just reminds me of? The explosion thing. There was an explosion inside of the pyramids. Yeah. Okay. So inside of the pyramids, the pyramid can withstand a controlled explosion.
Mm-hmm.
The structure of it, but there was an uncontrolled explosion that happened inside of it, and there was scorch marks found above with where the resonators would have been. So we talked about the king's chamber, or the grand gallery, where the resonators would have been. Those 27 to 28 resonators would have been. There was scorch marks on the ceiling, and charring all through the hallways.
So a fire happened inside?
It was an explosion. It wasn't from an earthquake. You could tell by the marks. They were like, this isn't from an earthquake. It was like an explosion happened. And this is the weirdest part about it. Is in there, right? The walls were displaced over an inch. So think about how we talked about how heavy the pyramids were. They were pushed out like an inch. They were pushed out an inch. Do you know how much power you need to push all those tons of stones out an inch?
Yeah, you need Omni-Man or Superman to do that.
You would need an insane amount of pressure. But then, whenever the explorers first went in, scientists first went into the pyramids, they opened up, they got inside. There was like an inch thick of salt on all the walls and on the tunnels, and there was deposits basically of hydrogen gas. Like it was basically the salt would happen. It would basically have been like hydrogen gas had been bubbling in there.
What the?
Yeah. Which would have been like if hydrogen reaches, I guess, an explosion or whatever, it would have bubbled up and it would have caused a giant catastrophe.
Can an asteroid do that? A sun flare? A flood? Not a flood. A flood's water.
Yeah, a flood wouldn't be able to. If there was an insane amount of power for whatever reason that it would have happened, then yeah.
I have a question. If an asteroid hit today, right?
Yeah.
Would the pyramids still stay?
I guess it depends on where they hit, right? Because the whole thing about if a meteor hit would be about like the nuclear winter, basically, would happen. It would be like a nuclear winter.
Could that move the pyramid an inch, though?
I mean, I don't think it would have. If a meteor hit anywhere near the pyramids, it would probably blow them to smithereens.
Yeah.
With how strong it is. If it was far enough away, I don't think it would have moved it an inch. And the thing was, they can tell because of where, like, the center of where the explosion happened, it was basically like the radius around that was pushed out an inch. So there was something inside of the pyramids.
What do you think there was?
I think it was a problem, man. I think somebody like, a dude falls asleep at a nuclear power plant and doesn't do his job right, Homer Simpson style.
And he messed it up.
And he used to sleep on the job. And I think that he probably met Homer Simpson as an Egyptian. It was basically Homer Simpson didn't do his job.
It's like standing fire watch. He just fell asleep.
He just dozed off. And I think that the hydrogen built up and kaboom.
Well, mainstream historians say Khufu built the pyramid, like we said before, around 2500 BCE. And that's that. What if the Egyptians didn't build it? That's what we're trying to get to, right? What if they inherited it?
Okay, so that's why I think. So there's like a president of antiquities, right? This Egyptian dude that's basically... Can I grab one of those?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. All right, so the president of antiquities over in Egypt, right? This guy has been like blocking every major study that's been going on. We've been coming out with all this stuff. The SAR, the ground penetrating radar.
Yeah.
We got like, they sent like robots in there, like little robots with cameras on them.
Yeah.
And through the tunnel. We got all this stuff. And for like the last 20 years, he's like, nah, I think it was like since the 70s, there hadn't been a discovery until like 2017. We didn't know anything. Everyone just was like, oh, it's a tomb. There's not much going on.
He knows something.
I think he's blocking it. And I don't know if you ever talked to an Egyptian person.
I talked to one. I mean, we both know.
They don't like the idea that they didn't create the pyramids.
They're very prideful.
They're prideful.
They're very prideful.
Yeah, it's like us. It's like someone telling us we didn't make Mount Rushmore.
It's like
it pissed me off.
Like they'll be the ones going, "Your gold's fake." My bad.
But to be fair, everybody's trying to claim that they made the pyramids. People in Africa, have you seen the people in Africa? Dude, there's like yeah. Oh, just wait. If African people see this video, they're gonna blow up in the comments. Africans believe they made the pyramids and that the Egyptians came later and were like, that's ours. So there's all these people that are trying to lay claim, right? But Egyptians are there and they've been there for a while.
Yeah.
So they're like, it's us. But they don't know how they built it. They don't know how long it took. And the ancient Egyptians, they wrote down everything on the writings on the wall, all the hieroglyphs, everything. They have like everything on there. They never mentioned anything about a cataclysm. They never mentioned anything about how they were built or nothing. They're just scribbling. There's graffiti.
So that's wild. So going off of like many historians who believe that Khufu built it, right? But you know, as we said before, the Orion correlation, the Orion belt, pretty much, right? They suggest the pyramids align with the Orion belt, but only as the stars would have appeared in the sky around 10,500 BCE.
Yeah. So if you look at it today, and you looked at the pyramids of Giza, and they don't really align up with the Orion constellation, but they did way back when.
Yeah, during the Dryas theory.
Yeah, so around 10,500 to 13,000 years ago, we believe the Younger Dryas impact theory. Right. And that's a conspiracy theory that basically there was an advanced human civilization before the pyramids that were responsible for building it.
Go into a loophole on a different episode on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge episode. And it's a lot of fun. But that's what we probably believe who made these pyramids. I don't think it was made, 4,500 years ago by the ancient Egyptians. And I don't even think they would be done with it today.
No, I don't think so either. But going off of what if they were there before the Egyptians, right? What if they were there? Going off of water erosion on the Sphinx. Even the water erosion, the Sphinx head looks smaller than the body.
Yeah.
The body had to be there before the head.
Yeah.
They carved it out.
Yes. And that's...
But I want to know what was before the head. I want to...
It was a lion's head. Because if you look at the Sphinx, right? The Sphinx is also, what is it? Due east. I believe the Sphinx, the Sphinx is... directed, just like how the pyramids are like almost 360th of a degree to true north, the Sphinx is due east, like perfectly. And if you go back 10,500 to 13,000 years ago, he would have been facing the Leo constellation.
That's insane.
Do you know Leo is lion?
Yeah.
What the flip? Yeah. So it would have had a lion's head, and I think these ancient Egyptians came around. Khufu came around and said, hey, take the lion's head off, put mine on it.
It is mine.
Yeah, and you could tell by the chippings away on his head, it's completely different. They're like barbaric chippings.
Talking about changing history and like deleting history.
Dude, that's a saying, right?
Yeah.
What's the saying again? History is written by the victor?
Yeah.
He wasn't a victor in nothing. He just stumbled
upon it. I mean, Boston University's Robert Schouch believes that the Giza Plateau experienced intense flooding.
Yeah.
Every religion has intense flooding.
Yeah. But there wasn't one,
2005. Well, that can align with Genesis. It could. It really could. It really could.
Well, would they have already been built by then, right?
Yeah.
They would have had already been built.
Yeah. But it experienced intense flooding consistent with the end of the last ice age, when glaciers melted and sea levels rose drastically. Some data even suggest this global shift may have occurred in a single day, a solar flare.
Exactly.
And some people survived by probably staying in caves, hiding away, a boat.
Yeah, maybe. So if a solar flare or a meteor, probably more likely a solar flare. Because a meteor would have created a nuclear winter.
Yeah.
And a solar flare would have shot up, it would have broken through, basically, and melted all the ice caps immediately.
And immense flooding. Well, going off of that too, in intense flooding, if I was like one of 50 people, right, and I landed on on land that had the pyramids, you know, I'm a very egotistical guy sometimes, right?
You would have been Khufu.
I would have been Khufu. I would have. Every man would have. I built this because your line of generation, your sons and daughters,
Yeah.
you'll always be remembered.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I would, dude. I would float the boat. I would have been like, God sent me here and I created this in a day. I would have done that, but then we don't have who created it, how it was made, because he lied.
He lied.
He lied.
And we think people don't lie. Kim Jong-un said he was born by two mountains being squished together.
Yeah.
And he rode in on a unicorn.
And he doesn't poop, right?
He doesn't poop.
Interview's a great movie going off of that. But that's insane, right? Because that's fairly possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's how man is. Man is that way.
With the water erosion and all.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah. So like, and the thing was, there's water erosion, but there wasn't a flood until if you look back at the Younger Dryas impact theory, it was about 10,500 years ago
when we think the pyramids were built.
Yeah, but it wasn't 4,500 years ago. You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
So it's just like there's so many things pointing to the fact that this was not a tomb.
Yeah.
The pyramids were not a tomb.
I don't think so either. Nope.
They were not a tomb.
Nope. Especially when today 80% of modern technology stems from Tesla's inventions, which Tesla had a correlation to the pyramids. Yet his dream of free, limitless energy was buried.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Buried.
Along with him.
The notes went with him. Yeah. When is that? It always happens. The only person I can think that never happened to in my head is Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein, his
how did he die again? A heart attack?
Yeah, he was old.
Yeah.
His notes never went with him.
Maybe he wasn't really that kind of true genius like Tesla.
Yep. And like going off of that, right? Just like the potential of the pyramids, fossil fuels become the standard. And wars continue to be fought over limited resources. And Tesla never understood that those in power would never let go of control.
Yeah.
Humanity is more important than just wars, fighting, just being ill to each other. The same may be true for the secrets of the pyramids, hiding in plain sight.
I mean, it's
encoded
right there.
In stone, bro. Encoded.
It's right there.
And what sucks is we can't date the stone. We can't date it back, right? We can't.
Yeah, and what sucks too is like, I don't know if there's any way we could ever get them back up and running again. You know, like through earthquakes.
You know how we can do it though?
How?
If we build our own pyramids off of what we see, and we use the same infrastructure, and I feel like if the world came together and built something like that just to try it out, I think we can get it done in 10 years. But you know, it takes not just one country, it takes everybody to buy in. It's kind of like the space. Like everyone wants to get the space.
Yeah, why are we like, dude, if NASA put all their funding into that, I think we could get it done. I don't think it has to be like stones. I think we could do it like how Tesla did it in his backyard definitely. on the Wardenclyffe property.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? I feel like we could do it way better now.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of that, right? Dr. Zawi Hawass. Did I pronounce it?
I don't know.
Dr. Hawass, he's the what's it called? He's the for the Egyptian stuff. He controls the pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
If you know, if you look into it, the pyramids have never been excavated or
no.
Like dig deep.
Yeah, no.
Because I think that I'm gonna say it again. They have something down there, dude. They have to.
Yeah, of course they do. Why? If there's information down there, why? And you have like this gold mine of information and all this history in there. Why for 20, 30, 40 years are you blocking scientists from going in there? Oh, we don't want to damage it.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it should be illegal, in my opinion. I feel like that's a human thing to know, human knowledge that anyone should know.
It's the seventh wonder of the world.
Yes, which is crazy. I mean, the Grand Canyon is wonder of the world, right?
Natural wonder.
Oh, so okay. So
apparently there's man-made and natural.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
He would not let him excavate the pyramids at all, like at all, right? You can't dig. You can't dig into it, right? You can't like dig into the pyramids of Giza, right?
Right.
Which I find insane. Like, how is he not letting us do that? It should be a human right. Like, everyone should have access to it, in my opinion. Like, how are we not? You know, if today, right? If I made a holographic phone, right?
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, right? Everyone's gonna want it. Everyone higher up's gonna be like, I need that. And they'll take it away from me probably.
Right.
Or kill me. But
probably kill you. It's easier.
Yeah. and they'll find a way for them to discover how to do it and all. But the pyramids are right there. We should be able to figure out what is going on right there.
Yeah, like why are you hiding it? Like,
Ego.
Yeah, I think okay. I think it could be one of two options. I think that's a good one. The ego. So I think it's like the Egyptian pride, right? Like they don't want the truth coming out that they didn't build it. I think that they're like, hey, this is the only thing we got. This is all we've got.
What other thing does Egyptians have? Egypt's in Africa, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they got some really nice jewelry. To tell you that.
Yeah, they got sand.
Yeah.
They got a McDonald's. I think they have a KFC that faces the pyramids now. But yeah, I think it's an ego thing, right? I think that they're like, hey, we built it. We don't want anyone looking here. We don't want anyone poking around. You don't need to know nothing. We built it. I think the second one is that maybe the elite, again, the same thing that happened to Tesla with JP Morgan. I think that maybe the elite are trying to stop it, because if we were to discover what really happened, that would be unlimited, clean, free energy to the entire world.
We would save the planet.
We would save everything.
I mean, I'm not big on global warming, but you would definitely slow it down just a little.
And not only slowing that, it's like, think about just providing energy to everybody. You don't need to pay your house bill, your electrical bill.
No.
You don't need to have lights. You know what I mean? Like, everything is just free.
And top people go broke.
Yeah, you probably run cars off of it, run everything off of it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Your battery would be fully charged on your Tesla car.
I think there's too much money in oil, and like I just think that it gives certain people power that they don't want to lose their power.
Talk about a infrastructure for Tesla cars. They can easily do this, and everyone would buy a Tesla.
Dude,
I would.
That's the whole thing behind Tesla, that they're called Tesla.
Well, yeah, because clean energy, free energy. I mean, yeah. What the flip? And going off of the Egyptians hiding the truth, right? The correlation to other pyramids. I never understood and I can't grapple around my head.
Yeah.
How there's other pyramids, not fairly similar to the Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah.
But why are they pyramids?
Structures all built in a time where they didn't even know that continent was there. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Why do humanity? I mean, when I look at something, right, I'm more attracted. I think as humans, we attracted a four-cornered like square, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why a pyramid?
Yeah,
that makes no sense. I mean, if you look at Mexico, if you look at down in South America and all, they have like pyramids that were actually used for burials. Not the Pyramid of Giza, but why a pyramid? I mean, if you lived in Europe, right, and I live in North America,
yeah,
we had no way to contact each other. Right, but we're building something very similar. How?
Yeah,
How?
And that kind of brings me to another one, Project Stargate.
Yeah,
when they had the remote viewers and they found like 5 different pyramids all around the earth that we don't even know about right now.
The Black Pyramid in Alaska.
Yes,
that one's insane.
The one under the ocean.
Yep, fairly similar to Pyramid of Giza, and it produces energy.
If they had these all over the planet, they could have been producing energy for the entire planet of Earth.
Yep. Pyramids in Antarctica, Bosnia, China, and Mexico all share bizarre similarities. Bizarre. Yeah. And they're all part of the same ancient energy grid. Come on, man. And we need to dig deeper into this because, you know, if there are more pyramids out there that we do not know and they're legit there and we're just like hiding away from it, we can't be doing that. We just can't. And, so if we're talking about multiple different pyramids that are very similar to the Pyramid of Giza or just pyramids in general, the Pyramid of the Sun and Pyramid of the Moon resemble Egypt's pyramids in their shape and alignment. Dude, what the flip?
That's what I said. There's too many coincidences.
Well, the Pyramid of the Sun, and this is all notes we've been writing down, has a base almost identical in size to the Great Pyramid of Giza. The layout aligns with astronomical constellations, similar to how Giza's pyramid align with Orion's belt. Some claim mica sheets found in the pyramid suggest they had an energy-related function.
I just watched one in China too. It's pretty interesting.
The pyramids of China, the Xinghan pyramids.
Yeah,
dude. So I have notes for this one. Massive pyramids hidden under vegetation near Xinjiang, China. The Great White Pyramid is rumored to be larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah.
Chinese records suggest these pyramids could have been built over 8,000 years old. I mean, that could align to the 10,500 years ago if the Pyramid of Giza was made at that time frame.
Yeah, it could have been.
And like the Egyptian pyramids, they align to guess what?
True north.
Astronomy.
Astronomy.
Dude, astronomical bodies.
Dude.
Everything aligns to the stars.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, if I had no technology and I had no iPad and I live in the forest, I'm like how what's it called? People who don't who are live on an island, they don't talk to people. What are they called?
Like Aborigines?
Yeah, like civilizations that don't have any human contact.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was like them, I'd probably align to the stars too. I mean, if I see a jet.
It is weird that in China they're doing that, because we were just talking about religion the other day at work. And it's funny because Western religion, all of Muslims, Christians, Jews, like Hindus, a lot of us, we all look to the stars, right?
Yeah.
But in Asia, in China and stuff, a lot of it, all of it's like Western religion, we're all looking up.
Yeah.
But in Asian religion, they all look down. It's like we think big and we look at the stars. They're like, it's like meditating.
Yeah.
Look down. Look at the smallest thing. Respect the smallest thing. Like find deep within yourself. So it's weird that type of religion would be looking at the stars.
Let me give you a theory right now.
Okay.
If a flood happened, right, and people survived, right, and if I was in South America and I built a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
Not fairly similar to the Pyramid of Giza. It was more of a burial stage.
Yeah.
But after the flood, I find my way to Egypt at the Pyramid of Giza. What if those people were using for a power plant? But I didn't use a pyramid for a power plant. I used a pyramid for a burial site. So what if Kufan wasn't originally from Egypt?
He just got wind.
He got wind down there on the flood.
Damn.
And he used it as a burial site, how he would use it in his old place. Think about that.
Yeah, it's really,
that's fairly possible.
And that's what we're doing now. If you think about it, even like mainstream academia, we're doing that right now. Like we don't have the answer, so we're just throwing in some stuff and we're like teaching it to kids, and we're putting it in Hollywood movies, and we're putting it in kids' cartoons. It's like, this is what it was. It was a tomb. It could have been the same thing. Like Khufu and all his men were just like, oh, burial ground, tight. I guess this is a burial ground for me.
Well, you see in today's world, right? If I'm from North America, right? I'm born and lived in USA, and I use this cup, right?
Yeah.
For beer. If I go to Europe or if I go to China, they might use this cup for tea.
Yeah.
But I go over there and I go, no, it's used for beer. Yeah. Think about it. I changed the rules.
Yeah.
I changed what they used it for.
Yeah.
So the pyramids were always there, but I changed the rules because I came along. I got winded down in there.
Yeah.
It's fairly possible,
I'm trying to think of another situation where this actually happened, but I can't.
I mean, it's fairly possible.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians as we know them right now, the ones that we say built the pyramids. It's like they couldn't even create glass yet. They weren't even glass blowing yet. They were in like the Bronze Age. Mm-hmm. Dude, can you imagine chipping away at stone? Dude, some of the stones that they used, I think it's like the rose granite, is like one of the hardest stones in the world.
To chip. And
what are you chipping it with?
And the crazy part, if you look at the pyramids, they all align inside. You were saying the early cracks and everything like that. That's insane.
There's no way.
That's insane.
There's no way.
I mean, going off of like other pyramids too, right? The Bosnian pyramid complex in Bosnia and Herzegovina claims a massive burial pyramid in Bosnia's Visico Valley, possibly older than the Giza. Critics say it's just a natural hill, but some researchers claim man-made tunnels exist in it. And the pyramid, and this is all theories. Just want to say that out there. The pyramid allegedly emits electromagnetic energy, fueling theories of lost technology too. So many pyramids, man. There's so much. Like,
dude, we've got to cover the Younger Dryas impact theory because I'm starting to really think that that's got to be the fact.
Yeah,
that's got to be fact.
It's got to be. And going off another pyramid, the pyramids of Indonesia in Gunung Padang, a megalithic pyramid like structure that could be 20,000 years old. Researchers suggest it's the oldest pyramid on Earth, buried under layers of volcanic soil. Some speculate It may have been a power, like I said, a power generating structure like those theorizing Pyramid of Giza. I just don't get it. I don't get how.
Well, it's because you sound crazy when you say stuff like that. When you say that the pyramids of Giza and these other pyramids were used as like power plants, people immediately think you're crazy.
Well,
they don't want to listen to anything else you got to say.
As a viewer and a watcher, or as a skeptic, ask yourself this question: how are so many pyramids similar to each other when they're on different parts of the world and they have no contact to each other? You have to ask yourself that question.
I think
There's no way.
I think that a long time ago, a lot of legends and like myths are true, and I think I think the old world was insane, and I think that like after whatever cataclysm destroyed most of humanity and we rebuilt, I think a lot of that was lost. I think there was ancient knowledge that we would call magic today,
kind of like the Atlantis and all.
Yeah, Atlantis. I mean, anything like about using these things for energy and stuff. I think that like a lot of times we think that like this is the only way, but I mean, think about evolution and like dinosaurs. Like we didn't even know about dinosaurs until not that long ago.
Well, yeah, it's insane. I mean, going off of just the pyramids, right? I think there has to be. You could say there could be an alien connection.
Yes.
I mean, some fringe theories suggest the pyramids were not built by humans alone, which I don't believe so. I think the humans need help. Giants, but with the help of advanced civilization or extraterrestrial beings who had knowledge of sound-based energy systems.
They did love sound,
dude.
That F4, that 440,
yes,
F sharp,
dude. And not just that. When you look at, if you were looking at a UFO, right, you can't hear sound.
Right.
Sound's got to be used for energy in some way when it comes to extraterrestrial. Something
Anunnaki.
Like yes.
The Anunnaki.
Yes. And oh my.
Well, that's the cool thing about the Younger Dryas impact theory and these things being built. If it was aliens, right? Or if you want to believe in the Bible, or you want to believe in evolution, or you want to believe in the Anunnaki, or whatever, I feel like all of these can fit within that. Like, I feel like this is such a huge, giant, like, it's not just linear, like, oh, it has to be this or the other. Like, I feel like this could be, the Younger Dryas impact theory could be true. Yeah. And these could be extremely old, ancient structures. And there could have been an old, ancient civilization that made these things. Yeah. But I think that like you can still follow the rest of your belief systems. Yeah. Well, aligning with this.
Yeah, and you can. I always tell my pops you can be Christian and also believe in Anunnaki. You can. But going off of the aliens, right? Of like a connection with the pyramids. Yeah. The Hall of Record cover up. The cover up of all this. The Hall of Records is a legendary hidden archive said to contain the lost knowledge of Atlantis, like I just said, or an ancient pre-Egyptian civilization before the Egyptians got there. I'm telling you, man. And some theorists claim, going back to Dr. Zahi Hawass and other officials, found it beneath the Sphinx but have kept it secret.
Why?
Dude, what if it's below the Sphinx the whole time and they're just keeping it secret?
Well, that's why I'm glad. If they can shoot radars from space and see what's through the ground, this dude, the president of antiquities, is not going to stop us.
Yeah, and going off of ground radar, allegations that ground penetrating radar detected anomalies under the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Dude, and the results have been classified the whole time.
Dude,
they have been kept classified.
What if we anger something under here? What if there's like some actual real no shit like technology under here and we like crank it up by accident?
The hollow earth theory?
What if there's some like ancient tech and we get a hold of it, or like a being, and we release this thing like because we're messing with it?
Yeah.
And that's why he's trying to stop us. The president of antiquities, well, he's like, don't mess with it.
Well, we're just not just the president of antiquities, I think it is. Simply that Western powers of and elite groups like the Freemasons or the Vatican have a vested interest in keeping certain discoveries secret. Oh, for sure.
Oh, dude, the Vatican archives alone could be like a 3-hour episode. Oh, yeah. We could go so far deep into them. How do you trust these guys? How do you trust them with that much power?
Well, I mean, they always say humans are not ready for like knowledge. I think we already know. Just tell us.
Well, don't lie to us. Why do they keep lying to us, telling us these fake stories?
Well, because